My fellow horror YouTuber HorrorGal has hit 1,000 subscribers, and to celebrate, she's having a giveaway where she's invited everyone to make a video about a horror movie she might have missed. I have a suggestion for her, and you can find out what it is coming up next. Hi everyone, welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, Lady Hellbat, and today I want to celebrate a fellow horror YouTuber named HorrorGal. I'm still new to the horror YouTube community, but I came across HorrorGal's channel. Her name is Susan. She's very, very sweet, and she's definitely a dyed-in-the-wool horror fan, so I subscribed to her right away. I'm one of the 1,000. And I'm really excited that she's hit this landmark, and I want to help her celebrate. She's just hit 1,000 subscribers in her first year on YouTube, which is a huge accomplishment, and so I wanted to congratulate her by taking her up on her horror challenge. Now, I know Susan has seen all the classics. She's really into 80s horror. She loves Hitchcock, she loves John Carpenter, and so I picked a movie that I feel like corresponds with her tastes, and it's also a movie that I love. And so for her recommendation challenge, I'm choosing Ken Russell's 1988 horror film, Lair of the White Worm. Ken Russell is known for his eccentric personality and also for his very controversial films. He liked to make films that involved controversy between sexuality and the church, but several of his films are also critically acclaimed, particularly 1969's Woman in Love, for which he was nominated for an Oscar. Some of his most famous work includes the rock opera Tommy, which starred Roger Daltrey of The Who and Anne Margaret. Fucking amazing film. But in terms of horror, he also made the 1971 historical drama called The Devil, starring Oliver Reed and Vanessa Redgrave. And that movie is batshit crazy. It features some of the most blasphemous imagery I've ever seen. And like, for someone like me to say something like blasphemous, I'm not a terribly religious person, but there's a nun orgy scene in that film that'll just blow your mind. You won't even believe that this has been committed to celluloid. And as a result, it was actually banned in several countries and received an X rating here in North America. Now, it's actually very hard to find a legit uncut version of the film, which is what you really want to see. I've seen both versions, and the uncut has the nun orgy to all of its crazy excesses. It also includes all the torture violence that Oliver Reed's character has to endure. And if you can get your hands on it, I would so highly recommend it. However, for this video's purposes, my recommendation for Susan is Ken Russell's Lair of the White Worm, which was actually based on a novella by none other than Bram Stoker. The film stars Amanda Donohoe, as well as a very young Hugh Grant and Peter Capaldi, who would go on to become the 12th Doctor Who. Now, the story of the film takes place in Derbyshire in England, where an archaeology student by the name of Angus is excavating a site that is in the yard of a bed and breakfast run by the Trent sisters, Mary and Eve. Angus unearths a huge skull that he believes to have belonged to a giant snake, and he learns that the town actually has a legend about a snake who lived in a cave nearby that's known as the Dampton Worm because it was slain by John Dampton. Now, a descendant of John Dampton, whose name is James Dampton, lives in the same town. He's played by Hugh Grant, and he's dating one of the Trent sisters who run the bed and breakfast. Now, the Trent sisters lost their father a year earlier. He disappeared, but his pocket watch emerged in the cavern that we're talking about. And so James Dampton has a suspicion that perhaps this snake is back and still hunting for new victims. Enter Lady Sylvia to the scene, played by Amanda Donohoe, who is able to hypnotize and lure young men into her home, never to be seen again. Now, she's actually an acolyte of the Dampton Worm, and she tries to seduce James Dampton. When that doesn't work out, she decides to kidnap his girlfriend Eve Trent, who runs the bed and breakfast, and he has to go rescue her with the help of Angus. Now, there's a lot to love about this movie. It's a very lighthearted horror movie. There are lots of songs and really slapstick gags that make it really fun to watch. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of really shocking and blasphemous images strewn throughout that are just totally mind-blowing. Case in point, there is a scene where Eve experiences a flashback brought on by Lady Sylvia, where she witnesses Christ on a cross being taunted by a giant white snake and a bunch of nuns lying around being raped on the ground. I shit you not, this is Ken Russell's shtick. This is exactly the kind of stuff you're gonna see in his movies, and it is so shocking. It comes out of nowhere. Beyond that, there's a scene where Lady Sylvia has Eve hostage, and so she brandishes this strap-on huge phallus that she's ground to a point, and believe me, she intends to use it. It's hilarious and fucked up and a lot of fun. Overall, I'm recommending this movie to HorrorGal because it's kind of off the beaten path. I don't see it on a whole lot of horror lists, but it's definitely a horror movie through and through. It's also a comedy, and it's hilarious, and it's packed with plenty of shocks and laughs and scares, and I feel like she'd really enjoy it based on her interests. Lady Sylvia actually reminds me a whole lot of Elvira, and I know Susan's a huge fan of Elvira, so I think she'd get a big kick out of that. So there it is, Susan. Congrats on 1,000 subscribers. I'm super happy for you. I hope to make it there someday, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me out. Subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you next time.